Thank you for joining us this morning. Welcome to the table.
I haven't heard Yvette speak before, and she's a hard act to follow.
Very passionate,
Yeah.
as you are too.
No, but she's a great speaker. Kia ora tātou. We have a part A to begin with, which I just want to comment on. You won't be putting it now, Andrew. You'll put it at the end, will you?
Yeah, so maybe if you want to do the report first,
Yep.
and then we'll deal with the part A as a separate matter.
Because I just want to have one small comment.
Yeah, so let's deal with your overall report first.
Yeah.
We'll do that, and then we'll come and look at the part A and maybe make the comments on the part A at that point.
And Mel and I, as usual, are going to share. So she's going to start with the reopening of the Old Stone House.
No, which I do.
Oh, well, the order on here is on reopening of the
Yeah.
old.
Oh,
Up there.
I'll talk about Addington Pancake Night.
Okay.
So I think it was, anyway, it was early February. Addington at St Mary's in the church, they always have a pancake night, which is, to celebrate Shrove Tuesday, which is before Lent and all that kind of stuff. And they have this awesome celebration. If you ever go to any of their events, they're the most amazingly fun and exciting things. So they had the pancake race, and the picture before was the team that had won, the Wizards of Ward Street. So it's just an amazing sort of community event that they always get together, and everyone has a fantastic time, and the fairies are always there, so that's always great.
And we support with the Off the Ground Fund.
Yes, we do, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, do you want me to do that? Okay. This was a very emotional event for us. Almost not long after the earthquake, Dwayne Major, whom you will all know is the person who bought the beach, came to see the board with a DVD of the opening of the West Braden Community Pool, which occurred on the 20th of February 2011. And it had been the culmination of a massive fundraising effort to rebuild a pool that had been built in the 1930s at a time when everybody else was pulling their pools out. West Braden School is has one of the poorest, least resourced communities in Christchurch, and they built this pool and was opened on the 20th of February 2011 and was naturally pancaked. All enormous sums of money, all the fundraising just went. And he showed us the DVD of the opening, which was like something from the 50s, with kids jumping into a pool on a hot sunny day. And he turned around and he started again. And they imported this pool from the United States, so if there is another earthquake, then it falls apart or something. It does something that means it can be rebuilt together again. And they did the surrounds. He even suggested to local tradies that if they were going home with a load of concrete on a Friday night, they could just drop it at West Braden School and they'd do something with it. They built the surrounds and they built the changing sheds, and Lamar came in for example, this was the kind of thing that happened. Lamar came in with $12,000 to put in disabled access. So they've got a chair to lower people into the major pool as well. And it was opened, what night was it?
22nd of February.
That's right, it was. It was reopened on the 22nd of February after, I think it's very close to $800,000 worth of fundraising. It's a remarkable thing for a school in our area to do. And we have assisted. We contributed $20,000, and we also contributed to tickets for families from neighbouring areas to have a family entrance into the pool over the period of the summer. And we've supported that in 5 local schools that surround West Braden School, so that families from our area who may not ordinarily be able to access the pool can take their children and their family, their whānau, into the West Braden swimming pool. And the numbers that can go in, and this is typical of Dwayne Major, the numbers that can go in on a family ticket are up to 10. which is terrific. And family, of course, is a very liberal whānau interpretation. So it was a divine night. Dwayne led the jump into the pool. The kids followed him, though a couple of kids beat him to it while the speeches were still being made. And it's just a great thing to have in our local neighbourhood. Next one. Where's the man or the woman?
Right next to you.
One of the things they did was they sent kids around Christchurch to other pools to do bombing, because one of the things which is totally inherent in a pool is kids have to have fun. So rather than say, well, no, you can't jump in the pool, they sent kids around Christchurch to test all the pools to work out how deep they should be for bombing.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun.
Thank you for that enlightening comment. Okay, Old Stone House.
Well, yeah, we had the opening of the Old Stone House, which was fantastic. Actually, Leanne's speech was really good because I learned a whole lot, and that was all in the article, if you saw that, and stuff, that this building was built in 1870 by Sir John Craycroft Wilson, and he'd come over and he bought a huge, like over 100 hectares, I think it is, of land, and he built this stone building for the farm workers. So, and it's a 2.5-story building, which I thought was also interesting. So that was who it was originally built for, and they built a wooden house for them to live in. So yeah, there's a big history to it. In the picture before, the woman standing next to Leanne in the white is Carolyn Murray, and she's one of his descendants, and she gave a very inspiring speech, sort of talking about when she had been there as a child, and what the landscape was like, and how the round sort of garden was the same as what it was back then. So that was amazing, and she's an amazing woman, because I saw a picture of her on Facebook and people have commented. She's in her 80s, I think.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and she's been on the zip line at the adventure park, which was amazing.
I think it was for her birthday.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really great, and if you haven't been in it, because I hadn't, it's really great to look in on the mezzanine floor in there. So yeah, we're very grateful to have that opened again in our area, and we're going to have one of our awards ceremonies soon for the edible gardens in there too, which we'll be packing it out just probably slightly over, but we're really keen to use it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah.
No, but it is remarkable that it was for the workers and because of course their house burnt down, just like so many wooden houses have done.
This had burnt down at one stage.
Yeah,
too.
it got burnt down as one stage as well. The Coronation Hall, this is a point of contention. The board, Coronation Hall survived the earthquakes really well, but someone on a motorbike drove into the side of it and left the engine running, and it's got fire damage. It looks much better than this if you see it from the side of the park where it resides. Coronation Hall is heritage, and last May our board asked for advice following a submission on the use of the hall from the Riccarton players who have been homeless for 6 years. They and other groups, just for instance, the toy library, a local toy library, and the Kiraroo Club that had used the hall before, and other groups have expressed interest in the Coronation Hall. But as a result of the Riccarton players coming to see us after their travails, we asked staff for comment about the use of the hall, because the board was very keen to see it being reused for the benefit of the community, particularly given the number of groups that we know in our area who are homeless. They are joined by Addington Net at the moment as well. And we didn't have a response. So we are now in the business of looking at the 3 heritage buildings in our ward, including Coronation Hall, and to the use of it, with 5 weeks for community groups and other groups to come up with submissions on it. And we look forward to some positive ideas from the community. But we wish that we had had some advice on how to what we could do with this hall to make it a positive contribution to the community before. The next one. This is Manuka Cottages proposed site for Manuka Cottage. Manuka Cottage has been waiting for 7 years for their new building. They used to be in Dickon Street. They've had several shifts since then. They are now in St Mary's Church, where the pancake celebration was being held. And they look forward very much to having their own building. And it's proposed to put their building in Addington on the park on, I've forgotten the street.
Cornelius O'Connor Reserve.
No, the Cornelius O'Connor Reserve, and Harmon Street, which is right next door to a large number of community housing. So we look forward to seeing them there, the Manuka Cottage there, and it was put out for tender, and the prices, the money that we had left after all this time was not a lot, and we've got 2 tenders that have come in the funding. So we're thrilled. We're absolutely thrilled, and we look forward to being on site in a year's time, so that the Manuka Cottage, who have been a substantial influence in the Addington community, can get going properly again in their own home.
And it will have a connection to the council housing.
Oh yeah, that's right. It has a connection to the council housing behind. Oh, I'm so glad this is here. Thank you. The emergency preparedness plan. This is the most boring subject in the world sometimes, and the Spraydon Neighbourhood Network just did it. They pinched it off Brighton too. They pinched it off the Brighton community, and they attribute it to the Brighton community, but they refined it more, and I showed it to other organisations who are thinking of pinching it off the Spraydon community. And it's a preparedness plan for the household that you would actually read, and I just wanted to show it to you because it was one that you would read, because it's short, it's brief, and it's affordable with what you can take out. And I really wanted people to see that, because how many of us read civil defence plans that we think can be workable, and this one is. And the Spraydon Neighbourhood Network also, as well as this, in receipt of their Red Cross money, they've also bought a large barbecue and a gazebo already, and they've got plans for the future on the safe house that they will use, which is Whareora House in the middle of Barrington. They are steaming ahead and being extremely clever and smart with the money that they got from the Red Cross, and I just think they're an exemplar of what a neighbourhood can do. They're also behind the nagging of us for the right-hand turn of the Barrington Mall, which we hope will come about in this coming year. It's only been about 5 years waiting, or longer than that. But no, this is a great example. If anybody wants a copy, we're glad to give it to them, as long as they attribute it to the Spraydon Neighbourhood Network and Brighton. Next class.
Oh, what other things have you got?
I thought I had other things.
We're just looking here.
Yeah. Okay, well, do you want to talk about, yeah. Yeah. Oh, there was Curlett's Road, the drainage team came to us with an imaginative proposal which is going to go in next door to Linden Grove along Curlett's Road, and it's a landscape plan for a proposed retention basin. It's designed to purify the water, to provide a floodplain again for downriver on the Heskett, and it's got and we discussed with great trust between the two parties the plantings that they propose to put in to around the small lakes that they're developing, including native noble trees, which we're really thrilled about. The Addington speed limits around Church Square. I really want to talk about this. We proposed a 30k
Now, this
speed.
is the part A, isn't it? So let's deal with that when we get to the part A.
You're dead right.
Thank you.
So, edible gardens.
Just quickly, because we'll show you photos later, but we mentioned the edible garden. So we've had 36 entries for our first one, and lots of people who we've asked who are far too humble, basically. They think their gardens aren't good enough to go into it, and they're going to wait until next year. So we're really thrilled about that. So we'll show you photos later of people's produce and things like that. But yeah, like I said, it'll be in the Old Stone House in April when we hold that.
Yeah. That's it, I think.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that roundup of all that's going on in your part of the city. There's obviously a lot
Not
happening.
all.
But no, that's great. So that leaves time for a couple of questions if there are questions. Phil?
Not a question, but a quick comment. I think the board's report is a good example of a board being fully engaged with its community and the community responding. And I think the Spraydon pool is an outstanding example. And like less than $1 million, you know, there's a challenge for other wards and boards really to see how, in fact, we might better reduce the cost of our swimming pools in our city. So there we are.
Very good. All right, and do pass on our congratulations to the Wizards of Ward Street for their success in the pancake race.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a resolution in front of us to receive the report. Phil, you're happy to move that? Tim, happy to second? All those in favour? Against? That's carried. And